Hey, welcome to episode 7 of Worth 1000 Words, where I attempt to write a 1000 word short story based on a piece of artwork. If you're new here, my name is Jason and I'm a fiction writer. And if you've been paying attention to the channel at all recently, you'll notice two different kinds of videos than normal. I did a trailer reaction for The Devil All the Time, and really the only reason I did that was I read the book and really loved it and was really looking forward to the movie. So I wouldn't expect a lot of content like that, maybe just for my most anticipated stuff. But if you do have a movie trailer that you'd like me to check out, please comment below. And I've also posted a review that took a really long time. It was a review discussion of The Last of Us 2, one of my most anticipated games in a very long time. I took a little bit of a different take on it, so if you would like to check those out, please check down below. So today is a momentous day. Finally had a comment of someone suggesting a piece of artwork. The user was MagicThistle, and she requested this piece of artwork that we will talk about next. It's different. It's more stylized than I have had in the past, but I'm excited because it's not something I would have necessarily been drawn to. So if you would like to see me write a story based on a piece of artwork that you admire or have just seen, please post it below. MagicThistle, my #1 fan. This one's for you. Let's check out the artwork. Today's artwork is by Yoon Ling, a concept artist out of Montreal, Canada. As I said, this was submitted by one of my subscribers, MagicThistle. So let's take a look at it. First of all, it's very stylized. I love it. It's very graphic, almost vector-like, especially down below where you have all the spill of oil and water, whatever that is, and the little chunks of debris from the cars. But we have these 3 people in these 2-piece hazmat suits, armed. They have some kind of gas masks or breathing apparatus of some kind. And I don't know, are they bad? Are they here to take out some people? Or are they a cleanup crew of some kind? Are they good guys who caught up with a group of bad guys? One car foreground, one middle ground, and then a big truck in the background. I'm guessing there was some kind of car chase here. Is one of these their cars? I don't know. I do appreciate the submission. I love, this will definitely make me stretch myself because like I said, I can't say I would have been drawn to this. I love it, but it may not have been one of my picks. Thank you again, MagicThistle, for the submission, and let's see where the story goes. On to the writing. 2009, the significance there was the title of the piece, Crash09. I know it was part of a series, but I wanted to have some significance to it since it wasn't a very unique name. Although I should have picked 2109 or something like that, but I guess we're dealing with an alternate history here. And here I have a disgruntled guy who I haven't named yet. And he's lamenting about the fact that he is always forced to sit in the back seat by this guy named Al. What I wanted to do here is create a blue collar situation where it's almost like, yeah, these guys are 8:01 a.m. These guys are going to work, they're carpooling, they have all the same problems everybody else has. There's nothing necessarily special about them. And I thought that would be a nice contrast to what happens later. Almost funny in a way. And so I continue to talk about how much our hero, quote unquote, doesn't like Al because he doesn't let him sit in the front seat even when no one's there. And still playing off the always note. I don't know why these other 2 guys' names just came to me, Merv and Al, but they did. Probably because there's more pressure coming up with the name of a hero. Not to say that the name I came up with is great by any stretch, but I love doing that. I love having audible stuff in there. Automatopoeia, I guess it's called. And I had a lot of fun. I mean, you can see I'm only 7 minutes in. I'm already at 230 words. It just was flowing at this point because I wasn't trying to do anything profound or deep at all. I just was having fun with this character and how he was kind of pissed off. And, as a lot of us can be, first thing in the morning going to work, it's not really the place we want to be. And here I expand upon the back seat, or well, why the main character hates being in the back seat. And I decided to have a little more conversation here, try to bring out some of the character of these two guys in the front seat. And once again, maybe it's a little bit stereotypical, but the blue collar nature of all of this, I think, led to the giving each other shit. And our hero is just observing quietly, but he feels for Merv, definitely. Just he's not enough to where he's gonna let Al give him satisfaction in that comment. Poor Merv is trying to come back, but then Al, being the quicker of the two, apologizes and diffuses any kind of chance for Merv to have a comeback. And here, I don't know why, I just started talking about his hairy hand, and then I decided, well, maybe his whole hand is hairy except for one finger. Just a weird character quirk, and that led me to this very odd paragraph that you're about to read here, where, it could be due to a lot of things. Maybe it's the turn signal. Maybe it's just because he's rubbing under his nose too long, and then I just decide, no, I'm going to make this guy, stick it up his ass. But rather than making it strictly derogatory, meaning, a couple of guys calling each other gay all the time, I decide that Al is gay, and his husband or lover, boyfriend, whoever, maybe his partner, had left him. And here I'm probably second guessing myself for getting any kind of flack for appearing to perhaps make fun of gay people, but I'm not. I'm just, Al's gay. That's it. And then go back to the regular. I know I'm pretty much at halfway, and so this is when everything's got to turn, right? I always watch out for that, because you are in danger of never completing something if by the midpoint you don't move into the climax. So here I am having Glenn notice his elbow acting as a needle on a gauge ready to go, meaning like, he's holding it up and it's pointing at this thing that, I just gave away the name Glenn. But anyway, our hero sees, and it's the truck in the image. There's something wrong about it. I don't know why I decide driving well is an indicator, but I did. And then our hero notices whoever it is, and I complete the sure as shit between two characters. And now the action kicks in. This car chase, or what happens before what we see in the artwork here, we're starting to get the origin of that. And I wanted everything to happen quickly. I know in a lot of movies and things, these car chases are dragged out to an unrealistic degree. Now, I'm sure part of the reason is because I'm dealing with a word count goal, but I wanted to just almost imagine like all of this action happens so quick to these characters that are in it that it's over before they even realize it. But they act in unison, as you'll see, like they act well together. Here I have just a car tire rolling up, smash the windshield, destroying the car they're in, and then bring it back to the back seat where our hero is glad to be in the back for the first time to avoid the debris. Here I'm playing with more. I'm like, car doors or car tires not enough. What else can I do? So I add a car door flying, but then I add this poor hapless man. It hits the back of his head and gains just enough altitude to miss the car. I think it helped visually anyway. You can picture that, I'm sure. And here I wanted to address that, once again, Al is this bossy guy, but he's really good at his job, and our hero hates it. And here I get into some weird world building stuff, the light, the signal. I have to introduce these other cars because we see here that our characters are killing somebody in this car in the foreground. So that's what I'm trying to establish here, just setting the scene of the resolution. And talking about Central Reb, I guess rebels, magic code, kind of like Morse code on the turn signals. Just adding some, I guess, lingo in there for the sake of it feeling as though this is a real place that people live in, that there's terminology for things, that I don't have to explain it with exposition because these characters already know it. I think that's one tip that I've learned over the years is don't explain yourself too much, especially in this. It feels real and the reader will get it over time. And I think in this case, it doesn't matter. Like it's just establishing that, there's some kind of rebellion, there's some kind of code, there's some kind of something's happening with an opposing group. That's all that matters. And here I have our hero. He pulls the first. He breaks out the window, and the wind's just holding his eyes open. Don't blink, don't blink, don't blink. And then he pulls the trigger, unlatching the back of the car. And then we are introduced to this rebel who has tattoos on his head or face or something that identifies them. And the wind casting the beanie off. Takes another shot. And here I'm coming in. I'm at 840, almost 850 words, trying to wrap it up because I know I got to have some kind of resolution. I know I want to go back to the back seat because that's where it started. And if you've watched any of these videos, you know how I love bringing things full circle. And I add the fact here that these guys are getting in their suits, as we see in the artwork. And they're all brightly colored. I mean, there's bright suns glinting off them, and I thought it would be a cool touch. This just popped out, the angels. And even our protagonist, or our hero, decides, like, yeah, they are, despite his disagreements with everybody. We have our hero in the background, so I'd establish who these three guys who these three guys are and where they were in situation in the composition. And I decided that Al is the guy taking the shot. Our hero goes to the truck to finish off who's there. And here I'm relaying the idea that our hero is observing his coworkers and even amazed at how well they can just kind of turn on like a machine and do their job. And our hero finishes off the guy in the truck. And then Al, the leader, get the scans, whatever that means. I have no idea. Kind of a Blade Runner reference. And then, I ended it with the back seat, and our oh, yeah, there he is. His name's Glenn. So I'm going through and tweaking things, adding the names. Not a lot of cleanup here, actually. I'm at 10:23, so I can't chop a ton. I do know at this point, though, I want to add a little bit more flavor or a little bit more something to the end, and fixing typos and weird sentences and trying to bring the words down. Really, that's what I'm doing at this point. Even though it's probably premature considering I'm at the very top of the document, but I think it's better to just remove it sooner, because then if you take it down too far, which I believe I do, I go below 1,000, that you can easily add those back, because for me anyway, the end, I feel like I captured all the action I wanted to capture, but I think the end, I can always add more words there. I want it to be short and sweet, but I think anyway with what I wrote, I could add some more. Still trying to bring it down. I'm almost to 1,000. I don't think I cut any full sentences, and that was a pretty common element in most of the writing. Is I would just remove extraneous sentences. But here I think it was more rewording sentences, cutting words out of them, but not removing them completely. I feel like I say indeed too much, so I changed that to definitely. It probably doesn't matter. It's probably just me. Now I'm below 1,000, so I get to fill some stuff in. Not too stressed about it at this point, though, because 6 words is not very much. So I got to be careful to go over. Doing well on time. I was happy with this finally after going over for so long. So I believe I finished it just under an hour. Yeah, I think that was most of the work, honestly, is filling in the name and then bringing sentences down. But now I'm looking for 5 more words to add somewhere. I know that's not quite enough to add anything of substance to the end. So we'll see where I end up. 2 words left. I don't know why I changed that to cleanup. I felt suit up sounded too like Avengers or Marvel, so I just tweaked that there. 2 words left. Oh man, what will I do? Where will I add these 2 words? I'm at the end. That's not quite as oh, then I added always. Yeah, that's what I did. Added a little remark there. That's it. 2009 had been a shit year for Glenn. He didn't want to get into all the details, but one he couldn't let go, get past, or otherwise digest inoffensive matter. The back seat. Always the back seat. Merv said he got car sick sitting in the back, and Al always had to drive. He even liked to remind Glenn of the fact that the first 2 letters of his name began always. Better than a middle name pun, but not by much. 8:01 a.m. Glenn was picked up before Merv for no good reason, but Al didn't like him sitting up front even with no one else in the car. The guy was a walking power trip. But Al owned the car, and Glenn decided he'd rather deal with this than take public transit. Too many bombs lately. The car stopped. front tire rolling up the curb outside Merv's house, like Al liked to do, as if he had to even show his car's alignment he was the boss. The trees caught Glenn's eye, lush, frosted tips from the morning sun. Crank. God damn it. Glenn didn't have enough time to wedge his C's around the seat before Merv let it slide back with all of his bagel-fed weight. Glenn's knees were pinned together, left unable to shimmy his way out of the situation. His balls were the most tragic victim. Al jerked the car into motion, which pushed his knees deeper into the back of the seat. Merv grunted, squirmed, and gave Glenn a look. Good. A little satisfaction for Glenn. Wife doing well? Al asked. Asshole, Merv replied. Asshole, definitely. Al knew Merv's wife had left him a week ago for that lean, mustached bastard who worked at Rec 04. Balls and a vice from Merv's bulk, Glenn still wouldn't allow anything Al did to bring him respite. Merv's face squirmed as much as his body did, and Glenn knew he was searching for a comeback. Just kidding with you, man, Al said with a pat on Merv's knee. You're better without her. I know my life has exponentially gotten better since Seth left. Too late, Al had won. Merv shook off the man's hairy paw. Well, hairy except for the index finger. Could be a lot of reasons for that. It rests on a rub-smooth part of the steering wheel, as smooth as that finger. It brushes under his nose far too often, like he's infatuated with a smell that will never come off. But mostly, Glenn liked to think it was from sticking it up his own ass while he cried for Seth's return. His remark to the contrary didn't fool anyone. Then, as Al was dragging his finger across his upper lip, his elbow acting like a needle on the gauge reading go, Glenn saw it. A truck, driving good, too good, keeping to its lane, not even the passing cars able to rustle its trailer. Got one, Glenn said. Merv leaned forward, giving Glenn's balls some relief. Sure as shit! Al vomited, truly vomited, sesame seeds and coffee spattering the windshield and dash. The truck swerved, clipping cars as it merged to the exit. Leaves in the wind, Al whispered as he navigated around the cars barreling toward them, just like barrels. Sparks came in a storm. A tire hit the grill and rolled up the hood to smash the windshield, and then a car door careened off the back of a fleeing man's head, gaining enough altitude to miss them completely. Glenn was glad to be in the back seat for the first time. Both glass and sparks rained down, or in, Glenn should say. Merv crossed his arms while Al dipped his head down, never losing his hold on the wheel. Fucking pro. And Glenn hated it. Then the light, the signal. They were trying to get away. Another car, communicating with typical central reb light patterns. How the driver could manage code at this point was beyond Glenn. Didn't last long, the truck hitting one too many cars and literally running out of gas as it spilled across the asphalt in a trail of arterial blood. Brakes hissed. Glenn shattered the window with the butt of his gun, easier than he ever could have imagined. And as he paused in surprise, a tunnel of wind, somehow free of sparks and glass, smashed against his face, opening his eyes wide to hone in on that target. As if everything was saying, "Don't blink, don't blink, don't blink." He pulled the trigger. The hatchback flew open, and the driver turned, beanie flying off to show the tattoo those bastards were stupid enough to mark themselves with. He pulled the trigger again. It cut flesh and bone, but not good enough for a kill. But good enough to distract him long enough for the car in front to slam on its brakes and putting a halt to this sad getaway. Clean up? Glenn wasn't sure who said it. Head to toe in white, the sun glinted off Al and Merv like angels, and Glenn supposed in this moment they were. Bullets took down offenders Glenn hadn't noticed before, silencing their screams of revolution. Glenn stuck to the back, checking the truck. Poor guy in the cab had his head through the gap in the steering wheel. Another shot went off. Al's gun, finishing the guy in the hatchback. Quiet, so quickly. It never ceased to surprise Glenn how those white suits transformed them all, turned them into machines, dialed to a precision he didn't think organic entities were capable of. Glenn put the truck driver out of his misery. Besides, the gagging and blubbering was getting annoying. By far the loudest thing out here. Good job, boys, Al said. Always boys. Get the scans. When that was done, all three of them back at the car, Al pointed with that hairless finger of his at the back door and said, "Glenn, back seat." Fuck. Well, I did turn it into a cleanup crew after all. Just the visuals of the suits they had on, I couldn't resist. Did a little bit of world building, had a little bit of a sci-fi vibe, as if something's going on in this world. There's a rebellion of some kind, and I guess these guys are out to snuff it. One thing I forgot to mention, and I do it every time, is I always listen to music while I write, and I'll try to include that every time in the description, as well as a screenshot right here. And today I listened to the soundtrack for Too Old to Die Young by, if you watched my last video of the review of The Last of Us 2, Nick Reffin. One of my favorites. I always listen to music, it puts me in a headspace, and it was a very synth kind of vibe, and I think that kind of steered me toward what I did here in terms of the sci-fi element and all that. Because there's really nothing that completely speaks sci-fi to this artwork. I love sci-fi, I don't know what to tell you. So I ended up here. I think what I wanted to do, and the stylized nature of the artwork also put me in the direction. I want to have a little bit more fun with it, a little bit more lighthearted. Well, I shouldn't say it's lighthearted. It's kind of a dark situation, but the writing style, I was having a lot of fun with it, and the words seemed to really flow because it was conversational. I was in Glenn's head pretty tightly the whole time and using his voice to describe everything and talk about how he felt about his coworkers. And I think for some reason I had this image in my head of these guys kind of, starting the day at work like everybody else, and all the mundane things they talk about, and just the little annoyances like the guy refusing to let him sit in the front seat. But I had a good time with it. I hope you had fun as well. Any suggestions, any artwork you'd like me to write a story to, please post in the comments below. And any suggestions for any other kinds of videos you'd like to see. I'm going to start branching out and doing more reviews like I always said I would, but hadn't gotten around to doing. So expect a review coming later this week for a movie I watched. So it'll be probably a mixture of book reviews and movie reviews and even graphic novel reviews. I just finished a really cool one called Bog Bodies I would like to do a review on. Anyway, keep writing, keep drawing, keep making music, keep doing whatever it is you're doing creatively, and I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye. If you'd like to read this story in its non-video format, check the link in the description. I didn't add anything else. Promise. Thanks again.